We'll call to order at 7:05 PM. This is the Wednesday, October 14th, 2015 Finance Committee meeting. On the agenda for this evening, we have discussions about fall town meeting, personnel board representative, and then budget process changes, plus the usual minutes, etc., and all that good fun stuff. So for fall town meeting, I wanted to go over the warrant. We met last on October 6th. The warrant was finalized and put forward by the Board of Selectmen. It's been out on the town website, etc. Should be coming in mailboxes soon.
Today.
Apparently Mary's got hers today. So I wanted to regroup and go back, discuss any questions that we may have over any of the articles. We did vote on all the articles with the exception of Article 3 we did not make a recommendation of. I have a draft format. I was thinking of how to kind of prepare for this upcoming meeting, doing a one-pager that we can have as a handout at town meeting. So I threw this together. It's something we have done in the past. Mary.
Oh, thank you.
It's something we have done in the past, primarily to give some, either a little bit of an explanation if necessary for a certain article, or maybe explain the committee's views on whatever our recommendation is or non-recommendation, etc. So I'll just quickly walk through it. So Article 1, pay prior year bills. I didn't really give an explanation, just that we recommend it. Non-union classification study, just explain what it does, that it implements the non-union classification and compensation plan as proposed by the Personnel Board. The Finance Committee recommends Article 2 by a vote of 3-0. Article 3, and this was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to do the one-pager, was to kind of give some context as to what the impacts are. Article provides funding for the implementation of the proposed non-union classification compensation plan for fiscal year 2016. It is dependent on the passage of Article 2. Personnel Board recommends implementing the plan retroactive to July 1st, 2015. I do want to break down the funding for the non-union classification and compensation plan is in 3 groups: the non-union employees, the elected officials, and the personal service contracts. And then for the last bullet point in the draft format, I just put the Finance Committee has not recommended this article. The appointing authority, the Board of Selectmen, has stated that it is their intent to implement the compensation amounts in the study for employees with personal service contract. It is town meeting's ultimate decision to approve the funding. So I don't know if we want to add anything to that, if you want to have further discussion on that.
I'd like to discuss it a little bit more, but
Okay,
let's get
do you
through
want
the
to
whole
go
thing.
and go? Yeah,
Get
all right,
through
we'll
the
go
whole
through, we'll come back to that one. Article 4, salaries of elected officials. Article establishes new salaries for the elected officials. The proposed plan is dependent on Article 1 and, it should be Article 2 and 3. Finance Committee recommends passage by 3-0. Article 5, supplemental appropriation, the fire chief's personal service contract. Appropriates additional funds for the increase in the fire chief's personal service contract beginning July 1, 2015. The amount requested is above and beyond the FY16 budget. The amount requested in this article will increase with the passage of Article 2 and 3. Article 6, Teenage Anxiety and Depression TADS grant. This article appropriates funds in the amount of $4,000 to provide funding as a part of a 2-year contract agreed to by the town of Ayer. Article was meant to be for the annual town meeting, but it was omitted by error. Recommends passage 3-0. 7, Holiday Lighting Fund. This article appropriates funds in the amount of $10,000 for the Holiday Lighting Fund. Recommends passage 3-0. Article 8, Stabilization Fund for Ayer Shirley Regional School District. This article will allow the Ayer Shirley Regional School District to establish a stabilization fund in accordance with Chapter 71, Section 16G and a half. Don't know why we have G and a half. Do we have a third somewhere?
I've never seen a third. only
No?
halves.
Okay. And I did put in no funding is requested at this point in time, and then we do recommend it. And then 9 through 16, I did spell out what they are, but then just put in the comment that we did not take a position because there is no financial impact.
If you want to shorten this a little bit, you could just leave that at the top. The Finance Committee did not take a position on the following
And that,
items.
yeah, after I
Save
do
yourself some, now that you've typed it all out.
Sometimes you don't know what it's going to look like until it's done. So yes, I'm going to consolidate that. So the other item which I didn't have a chance to print out is also to put together a little grid that shows each of the warrant articles that has a financial impact and what that impact
And
is, and then a total at the bottom of that. So I think it comes down to around $107,000 that's being asked for in the current warrant article. Anything other than Article 3, which we'll discuss in a few minutes, that you want to add, edit?
You did fine. It's all good.
It's not me, I'm here.
I know it.
Okay. And I just want to point out, I did not put anything for the citizens petition because we generally don't take any positions on those. All right, so back to Article 3.
Without rehashing the discussion on October 6th, or the one we had among ourselves, I think September 23rd, I've again been dwelling on this since last Tuesday, and then redoing the minutes up this morning kind of rekindled it all a little bit. But there were some statements made towards the end of our discussion with the selectmen last week that I purposely included in the minutes because I think they're significant and important to the whole process. But there was a fair amount of anger, and I didn't put any of that. I kept the minutes really neutral, or at least I tried my best to.
Okay.
But there was a statement made, and I believe Ms. Livingston as well, but I didn't get a chance to go back and look at the video. But certainly Mr. Pomprian made a statement at the end that the town would, you'd have to look at the minutes to get the exact words, but I quoted him, not enforce, because that's the wrong word, not, if you could, I put it in
At
quotes.
the conclusion, Mr. Pomprian stated that the town will follow the contracts and work with town council to implement them.
I'm not sure what that meant so much, but the contracts say what the contracts say. There are 3, without mentioning them, and I don't believe I ever mentioned them on October 6th, what
No,
those
you did
were.
not.
I was very careful not to focus on any individuals. But there are 3 that specifically remove the position from the classification and compensation plan. That was done with clear intent when the contracts were created. One of those contracts was just negotiated, brand new.
Yeah.
So my thought process has been throughout this through this until I actually focused on it a little bit more after the 6th. If that wasn't the intent, even while this study was going on, then why was it included in the contract? It's a rhetorical question. I think we all have our own thought processes on that. But what really bothered me about the 6th more than anything is the feedback, for lack of a better word, because I don't have a good word for it, about why we, Finance Committee, we were just bringing it up now. This has been going on for 3 years, and I thought, that's our responsibility when we're dealing with a funding mechanism.
Exactly.
Not anything to do with the contracts, not anything to do with the wording of it, but our responsibility to this town is to advise the town about the funding mechanism and whether it's appropriate, valid, legal, meets all whatever standard. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think it would be appropriate, whether it's incumbent, I don't know, but appropriate for this committee to make that statement at town meeting that there are these 3 contracts that specifically exclude positions, and there are 4 that limit the salary to COLA only. So they don't mention the compensation grid at all, and 1 which is specifically tied to the compensation grid, and that's that employee's salary. And then give town meeting the information, let them make the decision. I mean, do it in a neutral way, but the total impact is, I think we figured it was around $40,000, give or take. And then Board of Selectmen has said they will follow the contracts. They said it.
Right, yeah, and I completely agree with you in, that they did say that. The problem I had with the 6th, there were two issues. One, we had our meeting on the 23rd where we started delving in, and like you said, we're going from the personnel side of things, now we're at the funding mechanism at which it comes back. Even as a member of the personnel board, I've gone and I've been cognizant of the funding, but I've never, until the personnel board has finished their work, come back and said, okay, here's what we have here, we need to make a decision, we need to start working on this right away. Because it's disrespectful from our side if we were to do that while the personnel board was still trying to complete their work.
Agreed.
Unless it's something that was completely outlandish, which then I could see kind of jumping in sooner than later. However, there was so I met with the town administrator on whatever that Tuesday was before the 6th. That was what, the 29th or the 29th?
After our meeting and before their meeting.
Yeah, so between the 23rd and the 6th, I did meet with the town administrator. And I met with him on his behest because the video, I guess, had gone viral amongst the employees, and they were all in an uproar that we were looking to change the scope. And I actually, even when we were discussing it on the 23rd, I don't feel like we were looking to change the scope. It was more of a, for example, and from our discussion, well, if we're going to give the elected officials a raise, there needs to be a town meeting warrant article. That came out of our discussion. The question regarding the personal service contracts was simply the legality of it, which is actually what we brought up on the 6th, because there was the gray area as the personnel board was going through the process where we asked the Board of Selectmen, we did not receive a definitive answer at the time. We were asked simply to include the information, which is fine. I have no problem with them doing that. It comes down to the process of now, the Personnel Board has made its recommendations, and yes, I did vote for the 86, which is fine, okay? And coming back and taking the personnel hat off and putting the finance hat on, it does raise, it raises some questions, and the question that I asked on the 6th was primarily for housekeeping. And I think I rewatched the 23rd meeting, and I didn't say that specifically, but that was the primary purpose of the discussion on the 23rd. If not all of the employees have a mechanism for that, why are we going to appropriate additional funds than what we have to? And I think that's a very important role that we have as a committee. And I know I'm sure you both feel the same way. What bothered me about the meeting on the 6th, which will actually encompass the next bullet point if we want, is from the meeting I had with the town administrator, I explained that from him, that it was primarily a housekeeping issue. And to have what I felt was to be railroaded, to be set up, to be pictured in a light in which we were the ones who were pushing back, and how dare they do this at this hour.
At the 9th hour, I think was the word. 12
you know
hours,
what?
something like that.
It's our purview to do that, and it wasn't the text or the context of our discussions on the 23rd was not like, oh, we're going to fight this is over, this is done. It's very important from my perspective, and we put together a mission statement a couple of years ago because I wanted to construe what our role is, to provide the information to town meeting to make an educated decision. That is in our mission statement. And that is part of what we were discussing on the 23rd, is part of what we discussed on the 6th, and is part of what we're discussing right now. To have been set up at the Board of Selectmen to be painted like we're all anti, for whatever, and I'm trying to stop the
Be
language.
neutral.
No, I'm trying to stop the language because I am still fuming about it. To be painted in that light makes you wonder, makes you realize why people don't sign up for this crap anymore.
Absolutely.
So I was absolutely furious on the 6th because of the town administrator's actions and the fact that we were painted as trying to change the scope. We have a jurisdiction where we can provide a certain amount of information. We could stand up at town meeting and give them their options. We could say, well, if you don't want to implement it since July 1, here's the number you can put in. You can recommend. If you don't want to give it to the personal service contracts, you can do this. The elected officials, take that out. It's our right to provide them that information.
It's our obligation, I think, as members of this committee.
Yeah, to a degree,
That's
yeah.
the statutory responsibility we have.
And there's a difference if the three of us are sitting here all opinionated, like, no, I don't like the study, I don't like where this is going, forget it, we need to stop the funding, versus saying,
Where does it
or
belong,
coming across-
who's entitled to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was my issue with the 6th, and that's why I did kind of blow my top at the meeting and was in quite the mood for the rest of the meeting.
Well, I would like to say on that point, considering the way other people acted, I think you had more control than the rest of the group in total, and I was happy to be sitting next to you because you kept me in check. So I guess in respect, I was channeling you like you were channeling me. But you know, I didn't want to get into a fight with them. But
I wasn't looking for that either.
they needed to hear what they needed to hear, whether
But
they liked it or not.
Even to that point, Chief Pedrazi made a great point after the meeting when we were out in the hallway. He's like, wow, you asked a simple question and you got that. And that's exactly what happened. So on Article 3, part of the reason why I put together and wanted to put together this one pager is I do want to spell out to some degree what the buckets are for the request for funding. And also I wanted to state that it is a town meeting's ultimate decision. If they don't feel that the personal service contract should have it, then they have that right. If they don't feel the elected officials should have it, they have that right. If they don't feel it should be from July 1st, they have that right to decide.
And I think the only mechanism to give them that information is through us, because it's not going to come out from
Correct.
any other presentation. And to me, that is really the wrong way to do it. It's not transparent by any means. It's not providing town meeting or the taxpayers from whom the money is coming with the truth of the matter. And I'm not suggesting that this committee sway them one way or the other. I'm suggesting that we
As
just
soon as we
provide
put
them.
information out there, we're going to be accused of doing that, though.
But
And
I don't
I'm gonna
mind being
I'm going to be
accused-
crucified because I was on the personnel board.
but I don't mind being accused of doing something that's right versus accused of and knowingly doing something that isn't right. And our responsibility is to advise town meeting on financial matters. We're not saying you should do this. We're just saying these are your options, and these are why you have these options. But if we don't give them full information,
Correct. We're not doing
which
that,
then they may make the wrong decision, or they may make not the wrong decision, because I don't want to say that one way or the other.
An
But
educated decision.
an educated
They don't know what they're
decision.
voting.
And they're not going to know what the contracts say, but we can, without telling who, what, or where, three contracts say this, and you can, that's on the website. 4 contracts say this, there are 8 total, and 1 contract says this. And this is the financial cost associated with it. Now, if that video, if the October 6th meeting has gone viral as well, they heard the Board of Selectmen say,
right.
we will follow the contracts. Now, if the only way to make them follow the contracts is not to fund the contract employees. I hate to say it that way, but that's the truth of the matter. If that money is in there, I have no reason to suspect it won't just go slotted in, as it was said twice or 3 times on the 6th. slot it in.
Well, we don't want, so one, we don't want to be accusatory towards the
Exactly.
Board of Selectmen, so, but, part of the concern that, and the reason why I asked the question was simply, if we don't need the entire amount of the 86,000 to be allocated for town meeting, why is it there? If we only need 80,000 because of those three, if there are specific contracts, et cetera, so be it. Let's adjust the number down, but it's on there at 86,000. We'll put together information as best we can to let town meeting make that decision. And we'll go from there, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just recommending or proposing that we give town meeting the information. The question then becomes, do we make a recommendation or do we not make a recommendation?
From my perspective, as a member of the, or former member of the personnel board at this point, I will not be making a recommendation. I did vote the 86,000. I will put information out there for a town meeting to let them make their decision. That being said, if the two of you decide that you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. But I also don't want it to be, I guess, a rash decision tonight, because, in order to figure out, because I feel like there needs to be a justification for that recommendation. And in order to hash that out, it's going to be a lot of work that has to be done this evening.
And to be honest, as much as I think as much as I would like us to make a recommendation, if we're not going to make a unanimous recommendation, we should make no recommendation.
I think it's a situation where,
Because I don't want us to look divided on an issue that has become so volatile.
well, it's become volatile among the employees.
Well, it's volatile
And-
because of the personalities involved.
Yeah. But I feel this is a situation, one of the reasons why I will abstain is I do feel that it's one of those situations where we should just put the information forward. And I think John Kilcummins put it perfectly. I think for Springtown meeting, when we had new positions, where it's not our job to hire people or whatever, but it's our job to give, yes, it's available, like from a funding perspective, yes, it's available, or and just let town meeting make that decision.
I don't have a problem with that. Town meeting is going to decide what town meeting is going to decide. I can only hope it decides one way versus another. So we were just going to try and do the math?
Well, so I want to go down. Do you still have that list of the personal service contracts?
I certainly do.
Because what I'd like to do is go down the list and
See which ones are impacted from a financial
have an extra one if you
perspective.
want.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to figure out who, because I've been looking at this stuff for so long, everything's getting cross-eyed.
So do you want me to read down the list for you of which contracts?
Just who has a contract,
Okay.
and we'll start there.
I said yes, but you know what? I have part of the personnel policy. But I have a handwritten list. I have my notes here. So these are the positions with contracts running down the list that we're all looking at. The the town engineer
Okay.
under grade 11. The assessing administrator under grade 13.
Okay.
Back up at the top under grade 8, the payroll and benefits manager. Under grade 14, the DPW superintendent, the town accountant / finance manager. Grade 15, the fire chief. Grade 16, the chief of police, and grade 17, the town administrator. That should be 8. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's 8.
I have 9.
What?
Oh, no, sorry. That's my scribble for a record. Sorry.
Well, I've written on this so many times too. 1,
I have
2,
8.
3, 4,
I have
5,
8.
6,
Yes, I
7,
have
8.
8. Sorry.
Now, for some reason, I thought The facilities director had a contract, but I didn't find one.
No, he,
No.
I've looked twice, and I keep telling myself there is one, but it's missing. So,
Yeah,
yeah. And then there are 3 elected, right?
yeah, the clerk collector are together on this grid.
except they're 2 separate positions.
Definitionally, would we perhaps provide to the townspeople an explanation for what a personal service contract is? Because I'm not so sure that
They understand.
We
that
can do
would
that.
be clear as to the fact that they had the ability to negotiate their salary.
Yeah, I think so, and that's why I say part of it may be explaining the 8 different contracts, because they are different. But definitely that these individuals negotiated their contract of employment, which basically gives them a lot more benefits than the non-union in terms of severance, vacation time, longevity time, stipends, the whole, which is the give and take of any negotiation. And everybody's on a compensation plan as it used to be, and everybody's position is governed by the personnel policy, which is how it used to be. Or you put the department head types positions on contracts, and the staff not. And there are a number of department heads who are not under personal service contracts. So there's an inconsistency, which has never made any sense to me. So whenever I would ask, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Sorry, I'm doing math.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
Wouldn't it be great if we had an Excel spreadsheet here right now? A laptop?
It would be, actually, I was tempted to bring my computer with me.
But only if you had to make them work.
Oh, mine works.
Plug in the formula?
Oh, no, we're using them more and more at work now, but not so much for mathematical computations, but to keep track of who has what reports due and what this due. I've had to learn how to sort, which was something I basically knew how to do anyway.
That's like accounting 101.
I didn't do too well in counting 101. Statistics, I breezed through. Counting, not so much. I always had 12 cents.
That I got. All right, so non-union employees, the total is $33,361.02.
Wait, say that again, 30?
$33,361.02.
That's an accounting number, 02.02.
0.02. Elected officials, 10,602.44. And then
PSAs?
PSAs are 42,403.62.
And it's not a surprise that it would be the largest number because they're the largest salaries.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, it's 8 salaries, and I don't know if
Yeah,
there are only,
the higher grades.
3 elected,
Collectively, yeah.
and not very many non-union.
May I ask a question, Scott, please?
If no one else has a question, yeah, you can ask a question.
I just want to make sure that people understand when they look at that you haven't put 2 positions together, that the town clerk and the town tax collector are actually 2 separate positions. Because someone asked me
You mean on the
You mean-
warrant or on this
on
handout?
that, when you would, on the classification,
Oh.
that,
Oh,
Well,
yeah, on
On
this sheet
the
here.
official study, they were separate. I think for the purpose, I think this is geared more towards like the employee themselves. So where the employee has 2 titles, that's why they've been added together.
But you can understand where somebody
Yes.
would think, oh, they've changed that. And
And
actually,
it
two
made it
people
one
could
position,
run
yeah.
for it. Yeah, two different. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't know, does the warrant even specify the elected officials by position? I didn't.
I believe it does, because I think
I got it
I
right
think it has to. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Article 4 is broken out appropriately with the 3 positions listed.
And interestingly enough, the town clerk and tax collector being one person's salary is equal to that of the one-person treasurer.
Yes.
If you think back to October 6th, there was a comment.
And
And I bit my tongue. Who else is here tonight?
historical. Okay, so for regrouping back to Article 3, so I will add in the breakout of the non-union employees, elected officials, PSAs. Like I said, I'm not going to put forward a recommendation personally, but you two have the right if you feel it's worthwhile doing that. And what is a personal service contract is the big question.
Mm.
So I don't know if,
I don't know that there's a specific definition
Yeah, that's
in
the
the
thing.
town, but as Mary Ann said, it's a contract of employment negotiated by the individual with the Board of Selectmen, where, you know, the terms of the contract are agreed upon by the parties. And that's basically what it is.
And perhaps the frequency should also be described, because it's not a one-time negotiation.
No, it's renegotiated
Right.
every 3 years.
And we should see them at town meeting to vote on it.
You know, and that's another part of it. All funding is subject to town meeting appropriation, which is why the finance committee is making this information available.
And town council told them that at a town meeting once. He said, you have to show the individual contract in the amount.
Yeah, they are supposed to be presented, but nobody will do that. There'd be way a lot of follow if people had the opportunity to actually see those documents at town meeting.
anything else for Article 3 on the one pager?
I think that there's no recommendation from the finance committee that stands out.
Okay. All right, I'll make some updates through the weekend and then re-forward it out to you, the two of you. You can come back with any edits before we get to town meeting.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, next item, personnel board representative status. So after our meeting on the 6th, and I copied everyone on it, I resigned my position on the personnel board. The meeting itself, I was quite angry about the manner in which I personally was spoken to and portrayed, really got under my skin. And it was a combination of that. There were a couple other things which I will actually get into. So there's, in my resignation letter, I did allude to some collusion among the employees regarding the study itself. And I do want to preface going into this with two things. Number one, I firmly believe Article 2 on the town meeting warrant is a fair and objective study.
Valid.
Yes, it is valid. I really need to commend Lieutenant Gill did an excellent job as chairman. He kept the personnel board on scope because we had discussed the scope at the beginning of the process, primarily because at the time we all got back together after, we had 5 and then that lasted 1 meeting and then we were back down to 3. But at the point where we backed down to 3, there were 2 employees. One is the employee representative, one is a citizen at large, which on a personal note I do have issues with. And then myself as the finance committee representative. So we did set the scope of the study at that point before we even started going down, because we wanted to make sure that and a lot of things that were discussed, and a couple of things I brought up were, given the makeup of the board, I think I must have said it 100 times during the year and a half. We need to make sure that we do things in an objective manner, and so there were certain things that we decided were not going to be discussed, weren't going to be addressed at that point in time. And one of those was the freezing of the steps that happened over like a few, 5 or 4 or 5.
About 5 years ago.
About 5 years ago. And I guess they had happened in the past. I was only present for one of them, but I think they happened.
Twice only, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was a few years before that.
Right.
And so I came into, just to kind of give the whole context, we were trying to get it for Springtown meeting. Ultimately, we went to the public hearing, got a lot of feedback from the employees regarding the job descriptions not being accurate. So therefore, because those were part of the compensation plan, we said, all right, we'll shelve it. Plan B was to kind of hand it over to the administration office to let them cross the T's, dot the I's on the descriptions, and then we'll, circle back once those are all set, and we'll, we did that, I believe it was on August 4th, I think was our first meeting back. And so at that meeting, we discussed the descriptions, we got through that, and then the town accountant was there and she produced a schedule very similar to this one that we've been using, except there were a couple additional columns on it. And those couple of additional columns were reinstituting the steps for the employees that had lost the steps previously. So I raised the question at that point and I said, well, why is this even on here? It's not in our scope. And, I honestly got what ended up being, I guess, a BS answer of why it was on there. But, we just had a few quick discussions as a board and we decided for that night we weren't going to go down that path. And then one of the personnel board members miraculously produced the exact same schedule that no one else on the board had seen. And that individual was fighting for, well, it's the right thing to do, and it's not fair that the steps were frozen, etc. And that was the first point where you start to see, and this isn't the first situation from previous finance committee representatives to the personnel board, where there's been complaints or whether not necessarily an open session about there's just stuff going on in the background to sway the direction of the board. And wasn't the benefits. I mean, the assistant treasurer reclassification was another one of those situations, because the individual who was on the personnel board for the finance committee at that point in time was livid at the way things were being handled. So because of what I saw in the meeting of the 4th, I did actually attend the meeting of the 18th with a resignation letter typed out, ready to hand it in and walk away. We discussed the steps again, the frozen steps, and again, Lieutenant Gill did a fantastic job really repointing the whole scope back to, this is what we agreed upon. We're not going to discuss that. We're going to go forward, with the recommendations that, not even discussing that. So kind of tuck that in the, away, etc. So we went through, we made our recommendations for what ended up being Article 2 on the study itself, which again I think is objective and to your point valid. On the funding side, even when we were discussing this, which ended up being the final piece for the funding, there was still the question at that point in time with the personal service contracts, but we kept it together and we agreed to put that forth to the Board of Selectmen. So in light of kind of what I saw in August and then last week's meeting, I just, you know what, I just had enough. I just absolutely had enough. I absolutely have given up so much of my time for the town and this committee, and I killed myself to get to personnel board. I had weeks where I was 4 nights down here at town hall because we'd have budget meetings, and then on Monday nights I'd also have personnel board. And to actually be treated that way at the end of the process just absolutely destroyed me. So that plus, you know what? I think I was gonna resign from personnel board after town meeting anyway, but I didn't want to, with the meeting scheduled on Wednesday night, I actually didn't want the process to go forward any further, knowing or having the suspicions that I had. So therefore, I submitted my resignation to personnel board, and that's that. So right now, we do not have a representative on the personnel board, and honestly, I always look at my role here as the facilitator of the committee, and I do not try, and I hope I do not sway policy or the way that this committee works, but I'm going to make a decision as the chairman, and as long as there are 2 employees on the personnel board, I will not put a finance committee member on that personnel board, even when and if we get more members here. I just don't think it's a very objective body anymore, and I just have some reservations over some of the things that could come out of it ultimately. So if you take any feedback, questions, or comments, I mean, if you think that's the wrong thing to do, it's your call. I'll leave it up to the committee itself.
Nothing? It is totally inconsistent with the personnel bylaw for 2 employees to be on it. That point was argued when I sat at the selectmen's table.
Mm-hmm.
It was debated, much not so unlike the way Tuesday night went. And it was stated that the bylaws are subject to interpretation by a member of the Board of Selectmen when they decided to appoint 2 employees. And what I didn't say then, I'll say now because it doesn't really matter, but not subject to interpretation by the Board of Selectmen, but by a court of law or the Attorney General. But the board decided to do what the board decided to do for the board's own reasons, and it was a split vote. So I am in total agreement that the personnel board cannot move forward without a member of the finance committee, because that's stipulated in the bylaw as well. There must be a member of the finance committee on there. So they can't, even if the board decides to appoint 3 more members, they can't. One of those members has to be a member of the finance committee. That's required by the bylaw. And in all honesty, and I've had discussions with former members of the finance committee as well, maybe, and I think I've stated it here, maybe it's just time to abolish the personnel bylaw altogether. Mm-hmm. Be done with it. There's only a handful of employees to which it applies.
And also, we do have a payroll and benefits manager, so there's someone who is more HR specific.
Yep.
In the town administration. So, and that has been tossed around in the last year and a half in my time there, just inside conversations with people. So maybe that is something that we look at.
And it will do away with all this discussion and dichotomy between regular employees, if you will, or non-contract and contract employees. That'll be done. But that's just my personal opinion. So I'm fine with what you say. I think it would be helpful, though, that we put it in writing. Personnel policy requires that there be a member of the finance committee, and the finance committee at this time does not desire to
I haven't looked at the bylaw in so long, I wouldn't do anything with that tonight.
No,
until-
I'm just, food for
Okay.
thought, just
Alright.
food for thought,
Okay.
not, if we don't take action now, they're not gonna meet anyway, so.
True.
But once it's on the radar that, you know, an appointment's gonna be made to make another quorum, which was the purpose of the last appointment, you know, it would be appropriate then maybe to say something, since we have a seat at that committee.
For one fleeting meeting, there were 5 people. It was sublime.
And I know who 2 of them were, and I know how they were appointed, and afterwards, for whatever reason, both decided to seek me out and explain why they couldn't go forward. And I, you know, I didn't mind. I mean, 2 of them, I happen to know people, you know,
Yeah.
people knew I was on it. And, you know, so I wished them well, and I said, I certainly understand. So, I do want to say that, and I've said this to you privately, and I'll say it to you publicly, that I really commend you for sticking it out as long as you did with all of what you went through, because I know only too well some of what you went through, and you did that for the town, and the town should thank you. The town thanks you. I thank you for the town, but I really mean that. And what we endured, but you in particular, you know, it didn't bother me that I got the reaction I got. I fully anticipated that, but I'm surprised you didn't get up and walk out, and I know you were fighting not to do that.
It was actually sobering that it happened. So
Yeah.
it
All
was
good things, all things
unbelievable.
happen for good reasons.
Yeah,
So, but thank you.
you're welcome. All right. Any other discussion on the personnel board? No? Marianne, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, just that perhaps we should be making the recommendation to abolish. I don't know if that's something with finance, as opposed to just stating that
No,
we're not
it's
going
not really our
our purview.
jurisdiction.
Okay.
I think that would have to, it's a town meeting warrant, so I think that would have to originate from either a citizen's petition or the
Selectmen.
selectmen.
Hmm.
Yeah, and if it were a citizen petition for something like that, I think it might require 200 signatures.
Yeah.
Might not be hard to get, given the environment, but I agree. I don't think it's our place to do that. But it's certainly something that we could talk about, but make the recommendation not necessarily. You know, I don't know. There need to be a lot of changes in the government of Ayer for anything to start working better and more correctly, and it's
We
unfortunate
have
that
come
you
a
have
long
to
way
say
in the
that.
last 5-6 years, but still a long way to go.
Old business.
Old business, FY17 budget process change.
I know, I offered to do that, and I thought about that when I was doing the minutes. At least I found the schedule and
Okay.
the other document in hard copy. I'm going to have to go back through the early email from 2015 to pull copies off,
All right,
unless you can send me electronic versions,
I should be able to.
if you think about it. But I will play with that a little bit
All right.
for our November meeting.
Well, for tonight, because the thing is, we're starting to get under the gun.
Mm.
Generally, once we get past fall town meeting, the next buy board, we start discussing the budget, you know, and the process, when the meetings are going to be, when we're going to send out the,
No, because it usually goes
recommended-
out the first week in December.
yeah, the guidance. So it's really a close shave. So actually, what I'd like to do tonight is just to kind of document some of the things that we have discussed.
Works for me, and then I can
and then
incorporate
from
them.
there. So we, by consensus, came up with or agreed to that we want to receive the budgets in by a certain deadline, review those as a committee, well, individually, and then come together as a committee to review those, and then simply seek out the departments to meet with us. Do we want to handle all of the departments that way, or do we want to, for example, take DPW, which is very large, police and fire? Like right now, we do anything over 100,000 on the budget. We could up
Which is a
that
lot of,
to-
most of the budgets these days.
It's a lot of the big ones, yeah.
I think based on our last discussion, we had perhaps been leaning more towards not seeing the majority of departments.
Yeah, not seeing most
Yeah.
of them.
But that we would,
Definitely the
Instead-
DPW because of its complexities and its enterprise funds. Those we need to go over.
DPW, I mean, fire and police are very straightforward.
yeah.
Yeah.
With one exception right now, there are going to be 4 openings at the police department, plus the records clerk.
It can be situational, you know, like if there's a lot of change in the police department, we can request that in. Fire department straightforward.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to sit down with them unless there's something specific going on.
Yeah, and even on things such as, for example, the IT department, you know, generally there's a lot of requests for capital, the 15-minute conversation at one of our meetings.
You know, I
Maybe
think
half an hour.
to some extent, I think we definitely need to meet with DPW. That's the most
Yeah.
complex budget there is. I would include in the basic list police and fire just because they are the second largest budgets. With respect to all the other departments, IT, I think submissions can be done by memo, not so unlike the legal update we got. And then if there's some element that we don't understand or don't feel is fully warranted or needs augmentation or something, then we'll have that in that budget stew package.
Mhm.
We could schedule something with the particular department.
Yeah.
I don't think we need the library. I don't think we need the council on aging unless they have a funding issue.
It may be helpful, though, to have the worksheet that you used, I think it was last year, that was a questionnaire.
The survey thing,
Yeah. Just so that you gain some additional information on each area without speaking to them directly and then asking questions. if
Well, I
necessary.
want to avoid kind of overwhelming the department heads because they already have a budget to fill out, and I want to like, please fill out your budget, provide us a memo, and here's your questionnaire.
but if we ask them
Do
to
they-
incorporate those questions into their request,
Yeah,
as
so
opposed to a survey,
yeah, so
leave it to them to do
I
it.
think part of the discussion we had was just having everything in memo format, like, you know, like Chief Pedrazi, Chief Murray, they always do a memo that
Mhm.
explains everything, and that's really a part of the reason why when they do come in,
It goes
it's
so smoothly.
it's a very smooth conversation because we have that
I'm
context.
just wondering if you need to provide them with some sort of template so that there's some consistency to the information being provided in the memo as opposed
We
to
can request that a memo include, for example,
Basics.
yeah, the
the
base, like,
bulleted list of here's what you'd like to
one-time requests, percentage increase over last year, significant,
Impacts or
yeah, it's just
upcoming,
something along
you know,
those lines.
that type of thing.
Personnel changes.
Personnel changes that impact the bottom line budget or the salary lines. Operational expenses versus capital, to make them
Yeah.
think about the difference between them. Because one-time expenses could be either, whereas a capital expense is specifically defined. And, you know, some aren't going to recognize the distinction because they don't ever have them. But if all of a sudden the COA decides it's going to be able to build a building, which is
Right.
something they've always been wishing for, that becomes a larger expense that they won't have again. Not that I anticipate that, but I can't think of another town budget that we really need to delve into in any detail that can't be addressed in a written document.
The only one I can think of would be where we just, I think, would need more context or color on would be the administration, BOS administration, because it includes like town council, et cetera.
But I think it can be addressed in a memo if there's anything glaring that we need to talk about, or if we just feel we should talk about it, then by all means. And one of the components that can be brought up in that is what personal service contracts are going to be renegotiated this year. Because that's a component of the budget, not of COLA, and shouldn't be a compensation plan. So maybe that's a separate element to discuss with the administration part of it.
Okay.
So DPW, fire, and police are the 3 big ones.
Yeah. And we will make ourselves available for any departments that do want to meet with us.
Yeah. Do we, I know we didn't decide on a date for the budgets, but last year we wanted them by the end of the week before Christmas, and we didn't get them until
Yes.
January.
I think we perhaps talked about moving that deadline up
Up.
in December.
I thought
because-
like the beginning of.
Right.
So, so a few years ago, we tried the ill-fated experiment of doing the budget meetings in November. That didn't go over very well
Oh, because nobody had them ready.
on a few fronts. So yeah, so the request last year was to have everything in, and I believe it was
Before the
3 or 4
holiday.
days before
Right.
Christmas.
It was like the Friday before.
Yes, and the hope and goal was for us to receive those budgets. And I'll be honest, the ulterior motive, which between myself and Mr. Cummins also, we actually have extra time over the holidays because you
Me
take time
too.
off work, so we wanted to have
Sit
that option
around.
to look at them.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, we didn't get them until the night of our first meeting, which I believe was on
January something,
5th.
3rd, 6th.
The 5th or the 6th.
Mm.
So
And we didn't, I mean, we were literally reading them as we were reading them.
yeah.
Not that we can
So generally we give.
do,
I think we generally give 2 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks for the department heads from the time that the budget memo goes out to submit their requests. So if we were to,
so we should get the budget memo out early in November, earlier, because it usually goes out the
well,
first week of
Thanksgiving's
December.
late. Thanksgiving's the 26th, which
Last
means that,
Thursday.
yeah. So if we look to do it the weekend before, the only concern I have with that is when you have like a major holiday and you send something important out just before it,
It's not gonna get
it
done.
never gets done. So even if we do it, if we request it to go out December 1st, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, 2.5 weeks is the 18th of December.
In my humble opinion, these department heads have been doing these budgets for years. They shouldn't need a month and a half to get them together. They
Oh.
should have been working on them all year.
Okay, it's not just our decision though, also we try and incorporate the Board of Selectmen.
No, I
on
understand.
the calendar.
But nothing should be coming at us
Doesn't have to be
after
written
the
in
fact.
stone.
No.
So December 1st or before Thanksgiving for the memo to go out. And then a due date of December 11th or the 18th. And then we would receive,
So budget memo out no later than 12/1. How's that?
sounds good. We receive all the budgets by, say,
A
the
week from,
22nd.
yeah, I was gonna say a week from the 18th would be
It's
Christmas
Christmas
Day.
Day, but I
So
want them before Christmas Day.
packets available. 12/22, did you say?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Tuesday before.
With a nice high-speed copier, that should be easy.
Yeah. And then, once we get into January, our first regularly scheduled meeting is January 13th, which would give us
Couple of weeks.
2 weeks to go over. In that time, I can, as long as I have everything, I can update the budget model.
Well, I could do
Or,
that.
oh yeah, sorry. Mary Ann's gonna update the budget model. That's my
Mary Ann.
baby, sorry. Of course I have. Yeah, we can update the budget model, distribute that over that course of time, just to put it in the normal context that we review it.
So our first regular meeting is the 13th of January. If we're really going to meet with DPW, Fire, and PD, I know.
It just sounds so wrong.
Then, we could do DPW one night for an hour and a half at the most, I would hope.
I think usually an hour.
Yeah.
Mr. Wetzel's
And
done.
Fire and Police another night, so that we're not sitting here for 3 hours. And
Yeah.
that both of them would be a total of an hour, I think.
So if we have the 13th and the 27th, so the DPW I would actually push off to the 27th because there's always late adjustments that do come in. And that might actually be one we even push them out to February 10th.
It gives us plenty of time if need be, but I think with DPW, given some of the developments this past year's budget process, if we give him an earlier date and try to hold him to it, it might guarantee we'll have it done by February 10th. I mean, I realize that it changes in things,
Yeah,
it's a
it's in
moving
flux.
target, but at the same time, the department heads need to take this process seriously and not, oh, well, I need $344,000 more.
It did snow a lot last year.
I'm not talking about snow removal. That's the easiest part of the whole budget.
So the meeting back on, when we regroup on the 13th, that would primarily be us reviewing and
Viewing.
discussing the budget, so we wouldn't have any departments on that night. So the 27th is the first night where we have our regularly scheduled. Do we want to put in a meeting in between there on the 20th? Do we want to meet like every Wednesday? The 13th,
How's
20th,
that work for your
27th?
schedule?
Might work.
That might work. And we can, we can try and work it. So I guess the question is, if we're going to definitely meet with fire, police, and DPW, we can set their schedules. We can do that for like the 27th and February 10th. Because even at February 10th, we'll have the preliminary budget. If the, and he always DPW always comes back after the fact anyway with changes. We can leave the 20th as kind of almost like an overflow, or we can use February 3rd as the overflow.
Leave them both just in case. The regular meeting's 13th to review the budget. On the 27th, are you proposing meeting with DPW? Or meeting with,
DPW would do on like February 10th.
so fire and police on the 27th?
Fire and police on the 27th, plus any others.
Well, that would work, but here's what I was thinking. If we're going to do a regular meeting and fire and police on the 27th, and then DPW on the 10th, why don't we pencil in the 3rd for any others in between? Because if we have
Okay.
regular business to do with the fire and police also, I don't know what might come up.
Well, yeah, it's usually during the budget. There's usually not a lot
Yeah.
of regular business that has to go on.
But you never know.
Yeah, right. No, and I understand that.
And then, any others on the 3rd, they shouldn't take as long as the other 3 combined.
Yeah.
And we may not have any takers anyway, so.
Right. Yeah, I can put that out. So 13th will be just for us to review and go over the budget, any follow-up questions. 27th will be the first department meetings with fire, police, and then if there's other small ones, we can fit them in. Because fire and police should only be half hour, 45
Max
minutes
each, yeah.
max.
Mm.
And then, that's an hour to an hour and a half. When we set up the budget meetings, I've always try and do them in 2 to 3 hour increments
Mhm.
or meeting length. So even if we do a 2 hour, we'd still be able to fit in another 30-minute discussion. 3rd will be or other departments that want to meet with us.
Do you want to include the administration on the 3rd and others?
I guess the question that I would have is, because we're changing the process this year, there's probably some department heads who might feel obligated or feel that if they don't volunteer to come to one of these meeting dates that we're opening up to them, that they're losing their opportunity to have a voice in the process, and that if there's any kind of objections that we have to any of the increases that they might have in their budget for the fiscal year, that they might be not given the floor or opportunity to have the discussion. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there that perhaps we might want to mitigate that by explaining to them the change in the process, and that if we have any questions, how we're going to go about communicating that and giving them the opportunity versus
Definitely.
them volunteering, because we might then end up having a similar type schedule as we did last year, where we're meeting with every department as
Oh, yeah.
opposed to what we're trying to do, which is cut down on the number of individuals we meet with if it's not necessary.
I think if the memo goes out saying we are trying to streamline the process for everybody so that we don't have
Yeah,
weather to deal with, plus we all get to have some time at home and
And
relax.
efficiencies.
Efficiency, that
Yeah.
the intent is we will take the budgets and review them. We will definitely meet with the three largest departments. And then if there are questions, if you want to come visit with us, you're more than welcome, but we will review what you have. If we have no questions, we'll just pass it back to you and say, we're good with this. If we have questions, we will invite you to come in and explain or answer the questions so that
yeah.
they have that open invitation, but they're not obligated, because I think most of them don't really want to come see us.
And there are some that do want to come see us. Council on Aging,
Mhm.
and every time Ms. Weinfeld is here, she does stress this is where she gets to shine. And it's always been one of my favorite meetings
Mhm.
because she's one of those individuals that, you sit there and you listen to what they do with the budget that they
And you're
have.
always
and it's
smiling,
like,
and
wow,
you're always
it's-
happy about it,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
You can't give them money, they won't take it.
And we'll afford her that opportunity if she wants. The other thing, to be honest, is that we are an open meeting, and whether they're invited or not,
They're
they
welcome
can
to
come.
be.
If they decide that, they want to explain something to us in person, even if they're not on the agenda, they can show up. They can email ahead of time and, like the day of, and say, look, I'm going to be there tonight. Can you afford me time? And we can adjust the agendas
Well, and I'm not disputing
accordingly.
that. It's
Yeah.
just more of a matter of just making sure that they're
They're all
clear that they're
comfortable
going
with
to
it.
have a voice, that it's not
Yeah.
going to be.
Mhm.
That
Well,
this is
I bring
like
up the
a
open meeting thing
process.
because part of the feedback I got over a couple of the budget cycles, because when we started, I think, really defining what the budget process is, I've always gone back to the town administrator for requesting feedback from department heads, and the one I always get back is that our communication out, it stinks. Despite the fact that we will sit and we will review the budget 5-6 times in an open meeting before we actually make our recommendations. So, if they want, and I will put that in the communication going out, that we are an open meeting, and if you have any questions or, you're welcome to
An
come.
invitation is not required, feel free to drop in at any
Absolutely.
time. Because I've actually heard other committees say, well, we weren't invited. Well, there's no invitation required to an open meeting, but I can appreciate the thought process, Well, we invite you to our meetings when we want to
Yeah.
see you. And it's mindset.
Yeah, because that would get us through the bulk of the budget process with 4 meetings as opposed to 12.
Mhm.
And that's huge. And again, it's first, anytime you do a change like this, it's first year, there's always going to be some bumps and, some learning curves, et cetera. But,
I think overall, because it is such a time-consuming process, I think that a majority of them will be happy that they don't have to come unless there is a specific question.
yeah.
Because a lot of them are
And the ones that want
comfortable,
to, absolutely. I enjoy hearing what some of the departments do.
I just thought of one that we may need to discuss in detail, and given the changes that are coming to the Economic Development Office,
Yeah.
that budget may get some revamping, so we can keep that in the back of our mind.
Yeah, there's been discussions over
And then this new land use
the land use.
department, which is different than economic development.
All right, so I can summarize what we have here as a
Draft
proposal.
memo for
Yeah,
the,
draft well, just because what I'd like to do is send it off to the town administrator and get his feedback. He is aware that we are looking at changing the process to streamline, primarily because it's the one thing that makes people not want to join. So,
well, it is a monumental task,
yeah, it
even
is.
for a small town like this. I can't imagine how it's done in larger towns. But, it's probably a little bit more professional in the sense that they have a larger administration.
Well,
too.
a lot of the larger towns actually, the town administrator or the
Well, they
administration
have
does
town
the budget.
managers and so on,
Yeah.
as opposed to little towns like us.
So the finance committee doesn't have to sit with everyone. Okay, excellent. Anything else on the budget? All right, so
Not yet.
we'll get a,
Not yet.
okay, yeah, so we'll get a write-up, and I think maybe once we see it in writing and send it off to the town administrator, get some feedback. All right, moving on to mail. Let's see, that's not mail. So we have our budget report. We have $324 left to spend this year. New.
I feel a pizza dinner coming up.
We would never waste money on
I was gonna say, I think there's actually a rule about not being able to spend it on food, believe it or not.
There's a new beacon, DEP primacy for stormwater discussed. And Guy Raz is the keynote speaker.
Who?
Guy Raz.
Okay.
The host and editorial director of Ted Hour Show at the MMA annual meeting on January 22nd. That's up if anyone wants to grab that one.
They have the agenda for that thing. That I like going to that, but
The January one?
the
I don't think they have the
MMA
agenda yet. Let's see.
OPEB reform remains unresolved. Now
Let's
there's
see,
a topic.
ATFC meeting is this Saturday, you are correct, on the 17th. No one's going, correct?
I knew I couldn't go when we were first
I
talking.
know I couldn't go. Items to discuss. Usually they put everything up on the MMA website afterwards. So today's discussion, this weekend's discussion will be
This
Sean
is in
Cronin,
color.
Deputy Commissioner for Division of Local Services, is going to speak. Concurrent workshops include Budgeting 101, Energy Savings, Capital Planning, Buying the Big Stuff,
These
and
are
Proposition
repeats.
2.5. Yeah, these are.
These are
repeats.
old topics that need to come.
Afternoon concurrent workshops are How to Be an Effective Finance Committee and the Visual Budget.
Ugh.
And this fairly new piece of open source software is developed by LaCourte and Jones, two local officials looking to deepen the conversation between government and citizens about how taxpayer dollars are spent. Interesting. I'll check that one so I can look that up afterwards.
The open meeting law has been updated again.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to open mail for the last couple of weeks, as you can see.
This is the first time I've ever seen this book in color.
What's that?
This is the first time I've ever seen this in color.
Let's see. Dear recipient of the 2015-2016 Municipal Directory, which is this one, due to an error in our pre-press department, solid black dots appeared on the map where identifying numbers of congressional districts should have been. This is a printer error and should no way reflect upon the publisher. Please find the enclosed corrected map.
Okay, with all
All
of its
right.
black dots. They have
Those are
numbers.
congressional districts, if anyone's interested.
Right.
Trash. And our municipal directory.
Paula Poundstone is the entertainment at the MMA.
Okay, entertainment.
Backed by popular demand, no less.
From the 90s?
Off-kilter sensibility, they call it. And impeccable timing.
So this is something that we get, and there are the black dots. So I think you've seen this. So this
Yeah.
is the municipal directory. So this has just every town in the Commonwealth, a little write-up, information, their size, population, etc. Some key contacts and phone numbers to get in touch with. I've generally kept it, so if there's anyone wants to take a look at it, you're more than welcome to.
Do we need to get the updated version of the Finance Committee handbook? I still can't access our,
It's not a CD.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can request it. It's
I can
available.
request one. I'll go in MMA's website at some point. All right, so that's all we have for mail. Moving on to
You want
minutes.
I
So
don't
we
write
have-
down all the mail we get. Is that perfectly okay with you?
I never did.
Okay. So
Perhaps I should have.
I
Mr.
can't
Chair.
keep track of what we got.
Something like this, no. Something like that, yeah, it's worth it.
So what is that, the municipal?
Municipal, Mass Municipal
Directory.
Directory. So we have October 6th, and I actually have not had a chance to read these, so I'll hand them out so we can peruse through them. January 13th, January 15th, and September 23rd. So if you want to take one real quick.
I read them
Sorry, you have.
early this morning. I read them.
Budget meetings. Good times, good times.
Well, I figured it. We should get those done and over with, huh? While you're looking at that, I'm looking for July 8th. I don't know why it's still on the list, because that
Oh,
was the
it's-
night we reorganized, so those have been approved.
Yeah,
So we can take those off.
okay.
And we can also take off January 28th, because those have been done. Because I only have 4 sets to go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
I end up doing the agenda first thing in the morning on a Friday. at
Well,
work.
I know you did it before I sent you the list, because I was meant to give
Yeah.
it to you that night, and
That's okay.
as I explained, I sat down on the sofa, and that was the end of that.
What's that?
And pink eye.
Oh,
January 13th,
pink eyes.
conjunctivitis.
Yeah, that's when
So
you
you
weren't
weren't
yet.
at
Tough
15th
time.
either.
I couldn't remember, I
Yeah,
didn't,
you're at
on
the
one of
15th.
them, I didn't have who was here, which is something I always put down, but
I don't think I was here, because this one says, oh,
on
I
the,
was here,
which
maybe I
day?
wasn't here the 13th, but I was here the 15th.
Yeah, you were one day after you had been out
Yeah.
because
I
you
think
felt
they're
guilty. Okay. So we have the 13th, 15th, 23rd, and 6th. You're okay with how I did the 6th?
I think it's fine.
I said I tried very hard to be neutral.
I think it is,
Okay.
honestly. So,
The
we're,
video will speak
Marion
for
was not
itself.
here on the 13th. We can't take a vote on that.
So the 13th is approved as drafted.
Yeah, we can sign it, but we can't, because we don't have quorum
Yeah.
to make a motion.
15th,
So 10:15,
we can move, right? No, 1:15.
1:15, sorry. 9:23.
You had that I,
Don't look at the sign it. Let's look at the top. I didn't
Okay.
change any of the list of
got it,
the
it's just a cut
signatures.
paste job. All right.
Yeah, is,
Oh, I'm sure you did that as clerk also. We all do.
yeah,
I was
I
close.
just
I
typed
was
right over
close.
the last one, and yeah, I didn't even look at the bottom. So on the bottom, you can put NA where you are if you'd like, if that would be on the
I'm gonna
13th.
cross out the DNA.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's there, it's just on the.
Oh, just
15th.
sign over it when we
Alright.
get that far,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so we have minutes we can approve for October, oh, sorry,
January 15th.
January 15th.
you sure it doesn't say
2015.
October on the list? Because
No, because I had to scribble out my zero. It still looks like a zero. September 23rd, 2015, and October 6th,
All right,
2015.
I'll move that we approve the January 15, 2015, September 23rd, 2015, and October 6, 2015 minutes.
Second.
I'll circle them so I know which ones we
Alright.
did.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving minutes say aye.
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 Aye. 3-0 unanimous.
And for housekeeping purposes, the ones that remain are the 21st.
Hold on.
Oh, so sorry.
Okay,
The 22nd.
yep.
January 21st, January 22nd, April 21st,
Okay.
May 6th. I don't know about May 27th, so leave it on there and I'll double check. I'll put a
Okay.
question mark. And then June 2nd and 24th, which Mary Ann's doing, I
Yeah.
believe, because I wasn't here for either of those
Right.
meetings.
Okay.
But May 27th, I think that's done also, but I will have to confirm that.
What about the 8th of July?
Yeah, we did that last meeting. I just said that a minute ago. That's when we reorganized, or it's September meeting, because the July 8th meeting was the reorganization meeting. So we probably did that in August sometime. And see, I don't have copies of them after we sign them. They go off to scanning land. Oh, sorry.
Scanning land is a happy place.
Oh, look, one page. How'd that happen? It was a short meeting.
So 1, 2, 3, and all right.
Not approved as drafted, submitted as drafted. I misspoke earlier. Okay, 1:15.
All right, moving on, upcoming business, still have that dividends analysis and the 5-year budget model on the horizon someday. Committee updates, nothing really for the buy board. I'm gonna reach out to the town administrator with our budget process changes and also request a buy board meeting probably at the end of October, early November, to get some feedback on them. Finance Committee Roundtable, so I'll go first.
It's like you volunteered to do something. I'll go first before anybody else says anything. So it's just the inflection in your voice was what made me laugh. But have at it.
Because I remember what I wanted to say.
You seemed really excited about it too.
It was actually, so Friday was the ribbon cutting ceremony for the high school, which I did attend, and it was a great time. It was really good. The school itself, I don't know if any of you have been on either of the tours, highly recommended. It's amazing what your tax dollars have done and the learning environment that it invites. It is open, it's modern, it has such a great feel to it now. You can see the excitement in the kids and in the faculty also.
It's like moving into a brand new house.
Yeah, it's there's some great speeches during the day. The middle school band, marching band, got to play. My son's on that. I have to give a plug.
Hey, it's nice they have one
I was
again,
the march.
'cause
I think it's
they
fantastic that they have.
they won awards years ago.
Yeah.
Not the same band, but when one of the directors, I forget the gentleman's name, Mary, you might remember, but
She says no. She doesn't know.
tall man, before Mr. Tree, I can't remember. My daughter will remember if I ask, but
I gotta get home.
they were great.
I haven't had dinner yet.
Me either.
Just throwing
No, me either.
So, see, now you made me forget. So one of the things that came out of some of the speeches, the architecture firm submitted the plans for the high school for an award. And like he said, he kind of prefaced it by saying, when you do projects, he's like, he said, you go to architectural school and they teach you how to design buildings, etc. They don't teach you how to design a building from an existing building where, they kept the primary bones of the school. So they submitted it for an award and it actually took top honors in the Northeast.
No
Wow.
kidding.
So they gave a framed picture that has all different schematics and we'll write up about the award to be hung up at the high school. And
So do you know
yeah.
what it was called? What the award was?
I don't remember off the top.
I didn't see that on the website, but I saw the ribbon cutting a few times, the video.
Yeah,
on
it's at the tail end of the speeches, because I
listen
think
to those.
that was supposed to be up on their website also.
So I'll try to incorporate
Yeah.
which one it was in here.
Okay.
Top in the Northeast, right?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it's nice to have new things.
Yeah, no, I will say I have pangs of sadness because of the years that we all spent there. I didn't go to school there, but my daughter did, and when she and my son-in-law were back for a visit when he ran the marathon 2 years ago, it was one of the first places they went, and they just kind of stood there in awe with all the dirt and all the construction and everything. So they're dying to come back and see it. But I don't think they'll be happy. I mean, these are the kids that painted all those walls that got torn down.
Well, I know
they preserve.
Yeah, they're
some.
going to preserve the images themselves.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
so that's all I had. Yes, that's all I have. I'll open up to members.
I just wanted to follow up with an assignment from last time, which was to reach out to the tax collector to get some information on the collection status from the fiscal year 15. She asked if we just want property taxes, or are we interested in getting excise information, or what else?
it's usually just the property tax, which
Property's
is the
big
high
one that
dollar
we
one.
ask for.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think along with that, the water and sewer
Water, sewer is
rates,
usually
which
rolled
tied
into
to
that.
them.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Holly? Mary, you have anything? Looking at your watch. You got somewhere to be?
No, I knew somebody was gonna say motion to adjourn, so I was just looking to see what time it was.
No, because now we need to discuss our next meeting. So our next regular scheduled meeting is the Wednesday after town meeting, but generally unless it's necessary, we don't meet before town meeting, and actually we don't have quorum that week anyway, so. Therefore, our next meeting after that is Veterans Day.
Can't meet then.
I know we can't meet them in town.
I don't even get the day off from work, but I'm taking it.
That
Oh,
was
I
a
took
good
that
letter
one.
you had in note to try and recruit
Oh,
people.
thank you. Thank you. That was the other thing I wanted to. Yeah, the letter ran last week.
And did it? Do you
Do we want
do you
to?
want to move it one day or the other, the 10th or the 12th?
So November's always a little finicky because of Thanksgiving. We always fall the Wednesday
Week
before
of, yeah.
Thanksgiving. And we've never met up the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Actually, we met once. That was when we took our stand on Vicksburg Square. But that's neither here
That
nor
was a
there.
very important discussion though, that you guys had.
Do you know where we had that?
I forget.
It was 4 chairs up in the corner of the Great Hall because every other room was busy. And it really came down to Brian, we had a discussion and all of a sudden Brian was like, I feel like we should write this stuff down and like put something together. So we took some notes and then, after as we were discussing, it was like, we should take a motion. Yeah, let's make a motion. So, and then I think I was the clerk at the time. So I had to write everything up. So anyway, so the other option is we can look to meet on November 18th, which is the third Wednesday of November, and that, kind of facilitate as a single meeting. And I'll just kind of say, if an emergency does come up, we may need to meet before then, but we can cross that bridge. So would the 18th work?
Should.
At this
I
point
can't
for
think
everyone?
of any reason it wouldn't.
Okay.
I can try to confirm that tonight, but I don't think so. I know I'm not going anywhere at the moment, so.
Okay. All right, so if there's nothing else, I will take a motion to adjourn at
8:35. Oh,
8:35.
which clock do you want to use? Let's use the
Please.
official one.
Use the official, oh, the official one's wrong, but okay.
Well, you know, it's battery operated. What do you want? You want to do it?
A motion to adjourn at 8:35 p.m.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.